Okay, so it is Wednesday, March 20th, 2024, and we are starting our reading on the Trading with the Enemy Act. I did download the book, so I also downloaded the one from the congressional records, but since this book also has the congressional records in it, I'm just going to do the book because I'm hoping this will break it down a little bit more for us. Okay, so I'm going to read the foreword. And everybody has the book, right? And opens. Everybody's good with that? Or are you just going to watch me read?
Read.
Okay. Forward. Reasons of legislation. For more than a century, the United States has recognized the principle that commercial intercourse ceases between rival countries at war. The Supreme Court, in passing on this question in 1814, said it is a fundamental proposition of international law that neither business nor correspondence can be maintained between the citizens of belligerent nations, except so far as may be allowed by the sovereign authority. Congress has accordingly passed an act setting forth indefinite and concrete form the allowances, the allowances and prohibitions which are to prevail in the existing emergency, and has gone the length of making violations of its mandate criminal, the offenders being subject to fine or imprisonment or both. This is a novel development of a principle of international law, but the economic and financial resources of all the nations engaged in the present war are now of such vital importance that it is incumbent upon the government to provide against the rendering of assistance to the enemy in any form or degree, and to conserve to the utmost our own resources for ourselves and for those with whom we make common cause. In doing Congress has not enunciated any new principle of international law, but has interpreted its existing canons in the light of an immediate emergency. Purposes of legislation. The chief objectives of this measure may be stated as, first, to recognize and apply, subject to definite modification, the principles of international law interdicting trade in time of war, and second, to conserve and utilize upon a basis of practical justice such enemy property as may be found within the jurisdiction of the United States. Interdiction of trade. The authorization of trade under license is one of the principal modifications of the rules of international law, which are provided for in the present legislation forbidding trade between citizens of the United States and subjects of the enemy. In effect, the law prohibits all trade whatsoever with an enemy or ally of the United States, except by a license issued by the President. However, a citizen or subject of an enemy or ally of enemy country residing here or in a neutral country is affected by the prohibitions of the law only when declared to be an enemy or ally of enemy by proclamation of the President. Other acts prohibited by the law, except when licensed, include the transportation of an enemy or an ally of enemy into or from the United States, the transmission of any letter, document, or other form of communication to or from the United States to an enemy or ally of enemy, the carrying on of business in the United States by enemy or ally of enemy insurance and reinsurance companies and others through branches, agencies, or otherwise, and publication of any news item or comment on the war in foreign languages. Hold on. I have to yell at my dog. In order that the United States, as far as practicable, may utilize and conserve enemy property, the law provides for the surrender of alien enemy property to an alien property custodian. Such money or property may be invested in government bonds. This gives the United States benefit of the use of such funds during the period of the war without confiscation, and at the same time protects the interests of subjects of belligerent nations. That is triggering something in my memory, but it's not fully cutting.
It sounds like the birth certificate to me.
Yeah. Interesting. Patents, trademarks, and copyrights. The prosecution in enemy countries of applications for letters patent and for registration of trademarks and copyrights is permitted to our citizens and is permitted in this country to subjects of enemy or ally of enemy countries. The use of enemy patents, trademarks, and copyrights by citizens of the United States for the purpose of manufacture or otherwise is also permitted, and adequate remedy for compensation, therefore, to enemy owners is provided for. This latter provision will undoubtedly open a large field of industry for the manufacture of many articles, now manufactured in Germany by the use of processes and devices which are protected here by patents held by Germans. Our Foreign Trade Division is prepared to give any information that may be desired, especially in regard to such regulations and orders as may be issued from time to time under this act. Could that be bear? As in bear aspirin? Synopsis, excuse me, of Trading with the Enemy Act. Definitions. Enemy or ally of an enemy. Briefly stated, any person residing or doing business within an enemy country and any person residing outside of the United States and doing business in an enemy country, and any corporation incorporated within an enemy country or incorporated within any country other than the United States and doing business within an enemy country are termed enemy. Doing business within an enemy country means having a branch or agency actively conducting business within that country. The bill does not bring within the term enemy a neutral unless such neutral has a branch of its business within an enemy country. Nor does the bill term enemy a citizen or subject of an enemy nation residing in a neutral country and conducting no part of his business in an enemy country. The Act provides, however, that a citizen or subject of an enemy country residing or doing business anywhere may be proclamation of the President be included in the term enemy. Section 2. The term ally of enemy is defined along similar lines as the definition of the term enemy. Person, an individual, partnership, association, company, or other unincorporated body of individuals or corporation or body politic. That's what our name is a person. Or what the name is. United States, all land and water, continental or insular, in any way within the jurisdiction of the United States or occupied by the military or naval forces thereof. Section 2. the beginning of the war, midnight ending the day on which Congress has declared or shall declare war, or the existence of a state of war. Section 2. End of the war, date of proclamation of exchange of ratifications of the Treaty of Peace, unless the President shall, by proclamation, declare a prior date, in which case the date so proclaimed shall be deemed to be the end of the war within the means of this act. To trade, A, pay, satisfy, compromise, or give security for the payment or satisfaction of any debt or obligation. B, draw, accept, pay, present for acceptance or payment, or endorse any negotiable instrument, or choose inaction. C, enter into, carry on, complete, or perform any contract, agreement, or obligation. D, buy or sell, loan or extend credit, trade and deal with, exchange, transmit, transfer, assign, or otherwise dispose of, or receive any form of property. E, to have any form of business or commercial communication or intercourse with it. Bank or banks, national banks, state banks, trust companies, or other banks or banking associations doing business under the laws of the United States or of any state of the United States. Acts prohibited except by license. Acts, transactions, and business prohibited and made criminal by the law unless performed or carried on under license include trade, trading or attempting to trade, directly or indirectly with or on behalf of any person with knowledge or reasonable cause to believe that such person is an enemy or ally of enemy, or is conducting the trade in connection with an enemy or ally of enemy. Section 3-A. Okay. Transportation of enemy or ally of enemy. Transporting or attempting to transport any person with knowledge or reasonable cause to believe that such person is a subject or citizen of an enemy or ally of enemy nation. Transmission of communications. Transmitting or attempting to transmit out of or into the United States any letter or other communication except through the mail, or transmitting any letter or other writing, book, map, plan, or other paper, picture, or any telegram, cablegram, or wireless message, or other form of communication intended for or to be delivered directly or indirectly to an enemy or ally of enemy, except that this provision shall not apply to persons in the service of the United States or of any nation not an enemy or ally of enemy, nor to such persons or class of persons as the President may make exempt. 3C. Enemy or ally of enemy doing business here. DBA. Doing business in the United States by every enemy or ally of enemy, including insurance and reinsurance companies, whether through an agency, branch, office, or otherwise. This restriction shall not apply until 30 days have elapsed after the enactment of the law, or until license is refused upon application made within 30 days of that enactment. Section 4A. Change of name. No enemy or ally of enemy, and no partnership of which he was a member at the beginning of the war shall be permitted to change his or its name during the war, unless you're part of Operation Paperclip. Section 4B. Granting of licenses. Authority to grant licenses. The President may grant licenses, special or general, temporary or otherwise, and for such period of time and containing such provisions and conditions as he shall prescribe to any person or class of persons to do any act, or to an enemy or ally of enemy to do business prohibited by this law. Section 5A. Revocation and renewal. The president may revoke or renew licenses from time to time. If, in his opinion, such action is compatible with the safety of the United States and the successful prosecution of the war. Section 5A. Delegation of power. To carry out the provisions of this act, the president may exercise any power or authority conferred hereunder through such officer or officers as he may direct. Section 5A. Export of coin or money. The president may investigate, regulate, or prohibit any transaction in foreign exchange, export of gold or silver, coin or bullion, and transfer of credit in any form by any bank other than credits relating solely to transactions to be executed wholly within the United States, and transfers of evidences of indebtedness or of the ownership of property between the United States and any foreign country, whether enemy, ally of enemy, or otherwise, or between residents of one or more foreign countries by any person within the United States. It may require any person engaged in such transaction to furnish under oath complete information relative thereto. Wonder if this is how they took the gold and silver. It's funny, our government always creates the problem because they have a solution that'll benefit them. Suspension of performance of an act to prevent violation. If the president has reasonable cause to believe that any act is about to be performed in violation of restrictions prohibiting trading, the transportation of an enemy or ally of enemy, or the transmission of letters, documents, or other communications to an enemy or ally of enemy, he may order the suspension of the performance of such act for a period not exceeding 90 days, pending investigation of the facts by him. Section 5A. Letters, patent applied for under license. The president may grant licenses for the prosecution of applications for letters, patent, or for registration of trademarks or copyrights in the country of an enemy or an ally of enemy. Enemy or ally of enemy doing business here, or doing business as. Every enemy or ally of enemy, including enemy or ally of enemy insurance or reinsurance companies doing business within the United States through an agency or branch office or otherwise may, within 30 days after October 6, 1917, apply to the president for a license to continue to do business, and within 30 days after such application, the president may enter an order either granting or refusing to grant such license. Unlawful to continue business without a license. If a business is not applied for within 30 days after October 6, 1917, or if a license shall be refused to any enemy or ally of enemy, whether insurance or reinsurance company or other person making application, or if any license granted shall be revoked by the president, all trade or attempt to trade with, to, from, for, by, on account of, or on behalf of, or for the benefit of such enemy or ally of enemy shall be unlawful. May continue business pending license application for a period of 30 days after October 6, 1917, and further pending entry of order by the president after application made within 30 days by an enemy or ally of enemy other than an insurance or reinsurance company, it shall be unlawful for such enemy or ally of enemy to continue to do business in this country, and for any person to trade with, to, from, for, on account of, or behalf of, or for the benefit of such enemy or ally of enemy. may not export funds. During such period, an enemy or ally of enemy insurance company may continue to do business in accordance with the terms of the President's Proclamation of April 6, 1917, as modified by the Proclamation of July 13, 1917, but may not transmit any funds out of the country or allow any funds to be used as a basis for credit for an enemy or ally of enemy. Licenses to do business restricted. The President shall not have power to license any marine or war risk insurance or reinsurance businesses, or to authorize the transmission of any funds out of the United States or their use as the basis for any credit within or outside of the United States for an enemy or ally of enemy. Payments under existing policies or contracts after refusal or revocation of license. A policyholder or an insurance company, not an enemy or ally of enemy, holding insurance or having effected reinsurance with an enemy or ally of enemy company may receive payment from such enemy company for any premium, return premium, claim, money, security, or other property due or to become due and enforce at the time a license is revoked or refused such enemy company. Policies or contracts existing at such time are not made void by this act, and any policy holder or insurance company having any claim to money or other property of an enemy or ally of enemy insurance company in the control of the alien property custodian or of the Treasurer of the United States may make application for the payment thereof and may institute suit as provided in this act. Notice of refusal or revocation of license. Reasonable notice of intent to refuse to grant a license or to revoke a license granted to any reinsurance company shall be given by the President to all insurance companies within the United States known to be doing business with such reinsurance company. Effects of law on void transactions. Nothing in this law shall render valid any act or transaction constituting trading with an enemy since the beginning of the war and prior to October 6, 1917, or any such act or transaction thereafter performed or entered into except as authorized, which would otherwise be void or illegal at law. Any conveyance, transfer, delivery, or loan of money or other property prohibited by this act made after October 6, 1917, without license, shall create no right or remedy with the subject thereto. Likewise, the assignment, endorsement, or delivery of any debt, bill, note, or other obligation by or from an enemy or ally of enemy shall create no right or remedy against any person liable thereon, unless such obligation was made prior to the war or under license granted by the President. Any person who pays or satisfies such obligation will be subject to penalties prescribed for violation of the provisions of this act. Pre-war payments. The law does not permit the payment of money belonging to an enemy or ally of enemy to a person within the United States, not an enemy or ally of enemy, if the funds so paid were received prior to the beginning of the war and the payments arose from transactions entered into prior to the war and not in contemplation thereof. A license from the President, however, is required before such payment may be made. The law, furthermore, does not prevent the performance or completion of any contract originally entered into by an enemy or ally of enemy, if prior to the beginning of the war and not in completion thereof, the interests of the enemy or ally of enemy devolved upon a person not an enemy or ally of enemy, and no enemy or ally of enemy will be benefited by such performance other than by release from the obligation. Custodian of enemy property. Powers. The President is authorized to appoint an alien property custodian who shall be empowered to receive all money and property in the United States due or belonging to an enemy or ally of enemy, and to hold and administer and to account for the same under the general direction of the President. Such custodian shall be required to give bond in form and amount as the President shall prescribe. Payment to custodian, a discharge. Payment and delivery of money or property to such custodian shall be a full acquittance or discharge for all purposes of the obligation of the person making such payment or delivery, and the custodian or such other person as the President may appoint shall have power to evidence upon the record or otherwise such acquittance or discharge, and to deliver any security therefore, which has come into his possession. Any person so empowered by the President will be furnished with a certificate from the President, which will be accepted as evidence of his authority in the same manner as a power of attorney. But the President, okay, this couldn't mean the birth certificate, I don't think. Monies invested in government bonds. All monies paid to or received by the alien property custodian shall be deposited in the Treasury of the United States and may be invested by the Secretary of the Treasury in United States government bonds or certificates of indebtedness. As soon after the end of the war as the President may deem practicable, such securities shall be sold and the proceeds deposited in the Treasury. Yeah, we have a big negative in our Treasury. So, other property to be deposited in banks. All other property, including stocks, bonds, notes, time drafts, or other securities, except checks or drafts payable on demand of an enemy or ally of enemy, shall be deposited in any bank or banks or trust companies in the United States designated by the President. Such depositories are authorized to collect dividends, interest, or income which may become due on any stocks, bonds, notes, or other securities, and to deposit same in the Treasury of the United States. How much more we got? A lot. Rights of custodian. The custodian, in respect to all property other than money, shall possess the powers of a common law trustee, and under prescribed regulations may manage such property and exercise such rights as may appertain thereto when necessary to prevent waste or to protect such property, to the end that the interests of the United States or of the persons who may ultimately become entitled thereto may be preserved and safeguarded. Interesting. Okay. Corporations or unincorporated associations or trustees issuing shares or certificates representing beneficial interests are required to transfer stocks delivered to the custodian upon demand of the latter, accompanied by delivery of the certificates. The returns from property sold by the custodian shall be deposited in the Treasury of the United States. Money or property required or authorized to be paid or transferred to the custodian shall, upon his written order, be paid or transferred to the Treasurer of the United States. Are they the custodian or are we the custodian?
We are not the custodian. We are the surety.
Right. Well, now we are, but we're trying to be the custodian.
Yeah, the custodian is either the Treasury or the Attorney General or the IMF.
Yeah. Good old IMF. Disclosure of stockholders, officers, and directors of corporations and unincorporated associations. Every corporation organized in the United States and every unincorporated association or company or trustee or trustees within the United States issuing shares or certificates representing beneficial interests are required to furnish the custodian within 60 days after October 6, 1917, with a full list of the names of every officer, director, or stockholder living outside of the United States known to be or whom there is reasonable cause to believe to be a citizen or subject of a nation at war with the United States, or of an ally or of such nation, together with the amount of stock or shares owned by each. A similar list may also be required by the President of all stock and shares owned on February 3rd, 1917, by an enemy or ally of enemy, or which the corporation, company, or trustee has reasonable cause to believe it's owned by an enemy or ally of enemy, though standing on the books in the name of another person. The name of an officer, director, or stockholder contained in this list may be stricken therefrom by the custodian if he is satisfied that such officer, director, or stockholder is not an enemy or ally of enemy. The President may extend the time for filing lists or returns for an additional period not to exceed 90 days. I'm seeing why they're saying that we should do everything we can to not seem as though we are an enemy and not in cahoots with the banks. Money, property, and debts. Any person in the United States holding or having custody or control alone or jointly of any property, beneficial or otherwise, for or on behalf of an enemy or ally of enemy, or for any person whom he may have reasonable cause to believe to be an enemy or ally of enemy, or any person in the United States indebted in any way to an enemy or ally of an enemy, or to any person believed to be such, is required to furnish the custodian with a statement containing the particulars of such holdings of indebtedness. Such report shall be made within 30 days after October 6, 1917, or within 30 days after such property shall come within the custody or control of such person, or after such indebtedness becomes due. The President may also require a similar report of all property so held on February 3rd, 1917, but the name of any person included in such report may be stricken out by the custodian if he is satisfied that such person is not an enemy or ally of enemy. The President may extend the time for filing lists or returns for an additional period not to exceed 90 days. Any money or property owing or belonging to an enemy or ally of enemy who has not been granted a license by the President may be required by the President to be paid over or conveyed to the custodian. If not so required, any person not an enemy or ally of enemy, owing or holding money or property of an enemy or ally of enemy, if such enemy or ally of enemy does not hold a license hereunder, may, with the consent of the president, pay or transfer the same to the custodian. Is anybody in a position to give me a short break? And
I will
read up to here.
What's that?
I said I'll only ask you to read up to page 30.
I could read if my mic's okay.
Yeah, it's sounding real good.
Okay. Where start enforcement?
Yeah.
Enforcement of rights affecting enemy property and contracts. Mortgages and liens. Any person not an enemy or ally of enemy holding a mortgage, pledge, lien, or other right in the nature of security in any property of an enemy or ally of enemy, which by law or by the terms of the instrument creating such right may be disposed of, or by the terms of the instrument creating such right may be disposed of, may hold such property, or after default may dispose of such property after notice to the custodian under regulations prescribed by the president. Likewise, any person to not an enemy or ally of enemy who is a party to a contract with an enemy or ally of enemy, the terms of which provide for a termination upon notice or for acceleration of maturity on demand, may terminate or mature such contract upon notice to the custodian. If any surplus remains after the satisfaction of a mortgage or other claim, notice thereof shall be given to the president, and such surplus held subject to his control and order. Notice to custodian. The notice to the custodian shall be for no longer period than is required by law or by the instrument providing for such notice. If no notice is required by law or by such instrument, notice will not be required by the custodian. Notice given to this custodian in accordance with the above shall have the same effect as if served upon an enemy or ally of enemy personally. Contracts prior to war. Any contract entered into prior to the war between any citizen of the United States or corporation or organization within the United States and an enemy or ally of enemy, the terms of which provide for the delivery of anything produced, mined, or manufactured in the United States to an enemy or ally of enemy, may be abrogated by such citizen or corporation by serving 30 days notice in writing upon the custodian. Claims for property transferred to custodian. Any person not an enemy or ally of enemy having any interest, right, or title to any money or other property transferred to the custodian, or to whom any debt may be owing from an enemy or ally of enemy whose property has been transferred to the custodian, may file with the custodian a notice of his claim. If application is made by the claimant for the transfer of such money or property, the president, with the assent of the owner thereof and of all persons claiming an interest therein, may order the payment or delivery to the claimant of such money or property held by the custodian or by the treasurer of the United States, or of such interest therein as the president may determine the claimant is entitled to. An order of the president herein shall not bar any person from prosecuting suit to establish any right or interest in such money or property. May sue in district court. If the claimant files notice of his claim but makes no application to the president, or if the president shall not act on such application within 60 days, the claimant may, within 6 months after the end of the war, institute a suit in equity to establish the interest, right, title, or debt so claimed. Such suit shall be instituted in the District Court of the United States for the district in which the claimant resides. Or if the claimant is a corporation, the suit shall be instituted in the district where such corporation has its principal place of business. The property or money claimed shall be held by the custodian until final decree is entered and satisfied by payment, or until the suit is otherwise terminated, except as provided in the law. The money or property paid to the custodian shall not be liable to lien, attachment, garnishment, trustee process, or execution, nor shall it be subject to any order or decree of any court. But money paid to the custodian and deposited in the Treasury of the United States as a trust fund for the payment of an enemy or ally of enemy owner of letters, patent, or trademark, print, label, or copyright registration used by a citizen of the United States under license from the president may be distributed by order of a court. Enemy may sue or defend. An enemy, it's so hard to read this because I know they made all persons enemy. So that's our commercial person. An enemy or ally. Go ahead. What?
I just said exactly.
I know. It's like, these are our rules. These are the rules for our commercial person. All right. Sorry. An enemy or ally of enemy licensed hereunder may bring suit if the basis thereof originated in business transacted within the United States under such license, and similarly defend a suit brought against him. Notice from President, a defense. Notice from the President that he believes a person asserting a claim in law or equity is an enemy or ally of enemy shall operate as a prima facie defense to such suit. Statute of limitations suspended. The running of any statute of limitations shall be suspended with reference to the rights or remedies on any contract entered into prior to the beginning of the war between parties, neither of whom is an enemy or ally of an enemy, the terms of which provide for payment of money, evidence by commercial paper, drawn against or secured by funds or property situated in an enemy or ally of enemy country. No suit shall be maintained on any such contract in the United States until after the end of the war, or until such funds or property shall be released for payment or for satisfaction of such contract. This provision shall not be construed to prevent the suspension of the running of any statute of limitations in cases where such suspension would occur under existing law. Settlement of claims. After the end of the war, it never ends. Any claim of an enemy or ally of enemy to money or other property held by the custodian or deposited in the United States Treasury shall be settled as Congress shall direct, except that on order of the President or of the court as provided in the Act, the custodian or the Treasurer of the United States shall convey or pay to any person to whom the President shall order or in whose behalf a final judgment or decree shall be entered, money or property of an enemy or ally of an enemy held by the custodian or the Treasurer of the United States. The Treasurer of the United States, on order of the custodian, shall repay to the licensee of any patent, trademark, or copyright any funds deposited by said licensee.
Thank you very much.
This is just really hard to hear because I know what they did.
Well, what was I going to say? I was going to say something about that. That's what it was. Okay, so we're supposedly the enemy, but yet the federal government is the one that turned us into a corporation. So how can we be an enemy unless we are stating that that is ours? in which case, ours, then we're the enemy, right?
It's not we. It's our person is the enemy. It's not.
No, I'm saying we didn't create the name. The name is the corporation. They, the Fed, created the name. So how is it that if it's not our creation, how are we the enemy unless we try to claim that name as ours? That's the only thing I can think of that would make us the enemy. Because they're the ones that created the corporation. We didn't.
They're just making it clear that it's time to divorce that thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. I think it's this whole creating that separation that makes us no longer the enemy. It's
Right.
us saying it's yours, it's not mine. That makes us not the enemy. Because we're trying to claim to something that isn't ours.
It just points out that commerce is criminal or dangerous.
Yes.
Commerce is
all right, let's see, 30. Let's see how much longer we have before the actual.
Or rather, commercial intercourse is dangerous.
Okay, we don't have that many. 8 more pages until we're to the actual act. 30. Wait, where did it go? Is it this one? No, it was this one. Okay, anybody else up for reading? If not, I will read, but I don't want to hog all the reading because I know how much you guys love reading out loud. All right. Oh, hold on, guys. I may have to switch to another room because I think my roommate's coming home. No. It's going to take me some time to switch, guys. So do you want to, Anna, can you by any chance read?
What was that, Dawn? Dawn, can you hear me?
Quiet.
Dawn, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. What did you ask me?
Oh, I said, could you read for a little bit because I had to do something, but that's okay. I'm going to be right back.
Okay.
Unless you can't
You
read.
didn't want me to read then, right?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Statements for collectors of customs. Statements by master of ship and owners, shippers, or consignor. How do you say that, Judy?
Consigners.
Consigners, okay, of cargoes. Thank you. The master or person in charge of any vessel before departure of such vessel from port shall deliver to the collector of customs of the district wherein such vessel is located a statement duty verified under oath that the cargo is not shipped or to be delivered in violation of law. The owner, shipper, or consignor of the cargo of such vessels shall in the like manner deliver to the collector a similar statement as to the cargo or parts thereof. shipped by them, which statement shall contain the names and addresses of the actual consignees, or if a shipment is made to a bank or other factor, the names and addresses of the persons who are the actual consignees. Copies of these statements shall be delivered to the American consular office at the port of destination of the cargo by the master or person in control of the vessel. Refusal of clearance of vessel. Whenever there is reasonable cause to believe that the manifest or statement is false, or that the vessel is about to carry any property to or for the account of an enemy or ally of enemy, the collector of customs, subject to review by the President, may refuse clearance to any vessel for which clearance is required by law, and by formal notice served upon the owner or person in command or in charge of any domestic vessel for which clearance is not required by law, may forbid the departure of such vessel from port. Report of export of coin or bullion. When any cargo intended for export contains gold coin, silver coin, bullion, or other monies of the United States, the collector of customs shall report to the President the amount thereof, with names of trustees, consignors, and consignees, and any other facts known to the collector, particularly those which may indicate that the shipment may be intended for delivery to an enemy or ally of enemy. Now you got patents, trademarks, and copyrights. Oh my. Prosecution of applications. An enemy or ally of enemy may file and prosecute in the United States an application for a patent or for registration of a trademark, print, label, or copyright, and pay any fee required by law, including attorney's fees. If an enemy or ally of enemy is unable during the war or within 6 months thereafter, on account of conditions arising out of the war, to file such application or to pay any official fee required by law within the prescribed period, he may be granted an extension of 9 months beyond the expiration of such period, provided the nation of which such applicant is a citizen or subject extends similar privileges to citizens of the United States. Any citizen of the United States or any corporation organized within the United States, when duly authorized by the President, is permitted to pay to an enemy or ally of enemy any tax, annuity, or fee which may be required by the laws pertaining to patents, trademarks, and copyrights of such enemy or ally of enemy nation. Any citizen or corporation may file and prosecute an application for patent or registration of trademark or copyright in the country of an enemy or ally of enemy after first receiving a license from the President, and may pay the fees required by law and the agent's fees, the amount of which shall be subject to the control of the President. Use of patent, trademark, or copyright owned by enemy or ally of enemy. Permission to manufacture under patent or use any trademark or copyright owned or controlled by an enemy or ally of enemy during the existence of the war may be granted under license issued by the President. He may prescribe the conditions of the license, including the fixing of prices of articles and products necessary to the health of the military and naval forces of the United States and the successful prosecution of the war, and the rules under which it may be granted, and the fee which shall be charged therefore. The license shall render at stated periods, at least annually, to the President a statement of the extent of the use of the license and the prices received, and shall pay to the alien property custodian an amount not to exceed 5% of the gross sums received from the use of such inventions, trademarks, or copyrighted matter, or 5% of the value of the use of such inventions, trademarks, or copyrighted matter, if so ordered by the president. The amount paid shall be deposited by the custodian with the Treasurer of the United States as a trust fund for the licensee or for the owner of the patent, trademark, or copyright. Licenses will continue during the term fixed in the license or in the absence of a limitation during the term of the patent or copyright. For violation of these provisions or of the condition of the license, the president, after due notice and hearing, may cancel any license. I wonder, did every single business have to file papers for this Trading with the Enemies Act of their business? Or was it only those that were doing business with Germany at the time? Or was it Germany?
You see where the licensing and all this registration and everything became instituted, whether they did or didn't, that was important. So they could keep track of everything and everybody,
Okay, so that makes sense. So they started it. So diabolical, man. So they create this war, and then they're like, we want to create our one world order, and we're building our United Nations, because right after the war, the United Nations 6 months later is gonna all of a sudden, boop, be in full operation. And so we have to get a hold of everybody's information. We have to know what everybody's doing. And they're not allowed to do it with our permission. It's so diabolical.
Hey, Dawn.
Yeah.
Do you think, wasn't it called League of Nations back then? And then they switched it to the United Nations?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Good to know. I thought that was only Superman and Wonder Woman and all those people getting together that were the League of Nations.
I like that, Dawn.
Dawn, those are the Ubermen.
Weren't they called the League of Nations, though? Or were they called the League of something else? Okay, now I gotta find out. What the heck?
Judy, what's the answer, girl?
Talking about a movie or what?
I'm talking about the cartoons, like the superheroes.
I don't know anything about them. I'm too old for that.
No, they're all of those action movies now. All of the comic, Thor and Superman and Batman, and I don't know. I don't watch them, so
yeah, it's called the League of Superheroes.
Okay, I just know the Guardians of the Galaxy. League. Okay, wow. I better catch up on this. Jeez.
Okay. Invention against public safety kept secret. And it's funny because this happens in 1917. Yes? So Hitler hadn't even come into power. Why did they see
the run-up?
See, they're getting ready for the German war.
Well, there was a German war that was World War I, and see, then in the 1930s, they made the so-called Germans the enemy, and then they made all United States persons the enemy. So,
right,
it was a incremental. That's the way the Jesuits do it. They're incremental.
Yeah. Invention against public safety kept secret. If the president is of the opinion that the publication of an invention through grant of a patent may endanger the public safety or assist the enemy, he may order that such invention be kept secret and patent be withheld until the end of the war. If it be established that application for such a patent has been filed in any other country or such invention published without the consent of the Commissioner of Patents or a license of the President, such invention shall be held abandoned. You know, this makes me think of all those guys who created the car that ran on water, and how every time they would go to try to get it patent, their little discovery patent, they would end up, keeled over somewhere, somehow. And I wonder if that's because they were looked at as the enemy of the state because of the fact that they were going to hurt commerce. Because the gasoline, and all these other things, that the smog checks, all these other things that you need, that create money, they're like, nope, that would be, you'd fall under the Trading with the Enemies Act because of the fact that you're hitting their pocketbook.
What's the petrodollar all about? Petrodollar?
I don't know.
You have water dollar or air dollar. Could you? I mean, they're free.
Well, water, you can't patent water.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But I mean, petroleum has its control. They had to attach the dollar to something like that, I guess. I don't know the petrodollar. I don't know, but
it was coined in the 1970s. Petrodollars or crude oil export revenues dominated in U.S. dollars. So boom, right there. You're coming against the U.S. dollar, in the trading, because governments, they're always hitting some kind of nation that's got like a really good crude oil supply.
It's called state interest. Like
yep.
state,
Yes.
It's state interest.
Yep. Interesting.
So I have, I don't know if this is part of it, but here's a little take. How about when they made alcohol illegal? What was that called?
The
but you know, yes. Do you know the real story behind that? Do you? They did that. I think that was a Rockefeller move. I might have the name wrong, because the vehicles that were being made were run on alcohol, and that was the competition for the petrol. So what they did is they got the churches involved with the nuns and stuff. If you look at the history, and it was amazing how they did it. I mean, they are brilliant, but that's why prohibition happened.
Yeah, they're brilliantly evil.
I didn't know that. That's a good story. Good story.
Get into that one.
Get the nuns
all the history's a lie. Yeah, well, no, they actually kind of, I'm going to use the word marketed them, but they talked them into that it was a bad thing, but they knew what they were doing. And they kind of like set it up around, and they kind of all came together, and it worked brilliantly. It really did. And that's how they got another foothold into the whole thing. And look at Tesla. Why do you think all his paperwork disappeared? Because he knew free energy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's called controlling the narrative, so they get everybody activated, just like they got women to think that they needed equal rights and everything. And then the point was to get them to go to work so they could collect taxes on them.
That, and to control the kids, because once you can get the youth, the younger they are, the easier they are to control and to, indoctrinate them.
Joe, it's already been fact checked, and it's not That's a conspiracy theory.
No, it is not, Dawn. What are you going, Wikipedia? Get off of that site.
Oh my gosh.
And the guys that were on the ship that sank, the bankers, they weren't on that ship, right?
No.
That's a conspiracy also.
It says Rockefeller did have a hand in establishing prohibition. That much is true. His contributions to the Women's Christian Temperance Union, which in turn used the funds to persuade U.S. congressmen to pass the 18th Amendment and the subsequent Volstead Act, totaled millions of dollars and helped vault the temperance movement to the national stage. However, his reasons for doing so appear to have been misconstrued over the years, likely out of a desire to ascribe underhanded motives to the passing of prohibition or to blame the lack of alternative fuel choice on a convenient villain. That's right. They're so convenient.
He wasn't the only one behind it. He was just the face of it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, look at what they did to us, the bankers did. And I have a question that always it's just been kind of permeating there in my head. So these guys are internationalists, right? So they don't actually identify with any specific country. And something that runs in my mind is, so why can't we be internationalists in some way, shape, or form where it would benefit us? I'm not talking monetarily. I mean, protective wise.
That's what we're doing. That's exactly what we're doing.
We're called the kingdom of heaven.
Well, that, and there's also like you're outside of the federal zone. Like there's the republic, and then there's the federal government. And what you're saying is, look, I'm not you to me. Like, especially when I was doing the mailing stuff, I was trying to get away with the free mailing and whatever. I was mailing because you could only use the On Her Majesty's Secret Service or the tax per queue if you were in international, you were mailing something internationally. And I was like, but I'm in the Republic and the federal government is international to me. And I am international to the federal government. So the federal government's jurisdiction is only as big as you give it. So they've got jurisdiction over DC. They have jurisdiction where they build up their state of buildings and parks and things like that, nature parks and whatever. But on the public road, they don't have jurisdiction. You give them jurisdiction. And it's this consent. And we never fight back and say, look, I'm not even in your jurisdiction. What are you trying to do? Like, I haven't violated any kind of act against another person or another man or woman. So how is it that you have jurisdiction over me? I'm not in your jurisdiction. And there was something about, because I think schools are also government jurisdictions, which is why they can take your kids. But I guess it was a story of some cops chasing this guy, this criminal, and it was on university property. But the thing is I guess he was in the library or one of the buildings and stuff, and they ended up catching him in a stairwell, like outside the building. But I think it was attached to like a carport or like a garage or something. He ended up getting off because he's like, I'm not in your jurisdiction. You didn't have jurisdiction to arrest me. And he won because he wasn't on their property when they caught him. So that's exactly what we're doing, and what we're focused on doing is getting out of their jurisdiction, because you are working as a man and woman in the Republic. And they don't have jurisdiction in the Republic because they're a corporation that only has a small square mileage within DC, and then even smaller little square patches within the states. Did that answer your question? What does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. I'm thinking maybe a little differently. I'm saying, okay, you have all of these powers that be, Morgans, the Rockefellers, the Warburgs, the whatever name they go by anymore. They do not consider themselves citizens, so to speak, of any country. They don't claim any country is their homeland. And I'm not sure if I'm using the correct wording. So they're internationalists, is what I'm saying. So, like the League of Nations, what is it called now? Well, now I got that in my head. Anyway, those guys, they're all internationalists, so they don't claim any homeland. So my thought process, and I know that I'm just learning, so why can't we become internationals, so to speak, where we don't claim, because they can go and do whatever they want.
Right.
And that's why they can do wars against each other. Like they're funding not both sides of the wars, because I'm sure there's more than two sides, but every war, everything. But they're internationalists. You can't even, they're untouchable in my mind because they're internationalists in some respect.
Judy's answer to you is correct then. We are just sojourners here ourselves. Our citizenship is in heaven. So technically they have, unless you break a law against, either injuring another person or their property, then you are just a sojourner. You don't have a place here either. Your place is on a higher level. Your rights come from a higher level. And I think, this is just my guess, but they believe their rights come from Lucifer. So they work on a spiritual level as well, but just for evil purposes. So, I've used that plenty of times before myself. I'm not a citizen of any country. Because my citizenship is in heaven, I'm just a sojourner here on earth. I've used that in my...
I like that. That to me makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because then you're not actually volunteering. We're doing it now, but as we're learning and trying to come out of it, we do volunteer for these privileges because we didn't know any better. But that actually makes more sense to me. Thank you.
Yes. Thank Judy. Okay. So, invention against public safety kept secret. If the president is of the opinion that the publication of I think I already read that one. Yeah, I did read that one. Powers of attorney. Powers of attorney heretofore or hereafter given by an enemy or ally of enemy to any person in the United States, insofar as the same may be necessary in the prosecution of an Am I saying that right? Prosecution? It looks like prosecution. It just sounds weird.
Right.
It was right. Okay. In the prosecution of an application for a patent or the registration of a trademark or copyright or the maintenance of a suit against a person other than a licensee to restrain infringement are valid. Remedies of enemy and ally of enemy. Owners of patents and copyrights. Suits against licensee. An owner of a patent or copyright may, within 1 year after the end of the war, file a bill in equity against the licensee in the United States District Court for the district in which the licensee resides, or if a corporation in which it has its principal place of business, for recovery from a licensee for all use and enjoyment of his patent, trademark, or copyright. The Treasurer of the United States shall be made a party to the suit, and the custodian shall receive notice thereof within 30 days after its entry. The licensee shall be entitled to make any and all defenses to such suit which would be available were no licenses granted. If judgment is rendered for the payment of royalty, the same shall be satisfied so far as possible by the fund which has been paid to the custodian by the licensee. If any balance is left, the same shall be returned to the licensee. If no suit is brought against the licensee within 1 year after the termination of the war, all funds deposited by the licensee shall be returned. After entry of suit or repayment of funds, the licensee shall not be required to make further reports to the President. If suit is brought, the court may terminate the license, and in such event may restrain infringement thereafter, or may continue the license for a stated period with such royalties as it may find just and reasonable. Suits against others than licensee. The owner of a patent or copyright may institute and prosecute suits in equity against any person other than a licensee to enjoin the infringement of patents and copyrights in the same manner and to the same extent as if the United States were not at war. Final judgment in such suit in favor of any enemy or ally of enemy shall not be entered except upon 30 days' notice to the custodian. Suspension of provision relating to ally of enemy by President. The President may, by proclamation, suspend the provisions of this act so far as they may apply or relate to an ally of enemy. Publications in foreign language. The publication or circulation in any foreign language of any news item or comment respecting the United States or any nation engaged in the present war or their policies or international relations shall not be permitted unless the publisher files with the postmaster at the place of publication a complete translation of the entire article in the English language. This translation shall be made under oath, and the article published shall be accompanied by a statement showing that a true translation has been filed, giving the name of the post office. Publications in any foreign language failing to comply with the above regulations shall not be admitted to the mails, and their distribution in any other manner is declared unlawful. For a false statement in the affidavit in connection with translation aforementioned, the affiant shall be punishable by perjury. Censorship established. If the President deems it expedient, he may cause to be censored communications by mail, radio, cable, or other means between this and any country specified by him. Attempts at invasion or concealment from such censorship shall be punishable by a fine of not more than 10,000 or imprisonment for not more than 10 years or both. Hey, what if the President is the one who is trying to invade the country by all these illegals? He's actually setting up an invasion.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I said, isn't the President, Biden, isn't he the one that is attempting an invasion? That's under censorship.
But don't you think the invasion has already been taken? It's already accomplished by putting us under their corporation, because it's a corporation and we're the surety. So, I mean, the masses are I mean, they don't have no clue what's going on.
Yeah. I think I'm relating it differently. I just heard the word invasion. I'm like, wait, he's causing an invasion of this country by everybody. But actually, the censorship, they're also trying to do that. The president is actually the one who's trying to censor all of this stuff and attempts at invasion or concealment from such censorship.
Just an FYI regarding the ones coming across the border, you know why when they're picked up and arrested, or when they're detained and taken in, they're released all the time? Because they're not citizens of the United States, and they can't hold them because they have no control over them until they're registered.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, what's the benefit for them to get them over here? Unregistered, that is. Like, that's how they make their money. Being surety for the debt.
I have a comment to make.
Yeah.
What Private Nobody is doing for us when we're finished, we're in the same status of those illegal aliens where they can arrest us, but they can't do anything because we don't belong to them.
Yep.
Which is pretty good, actually.
Yep. Although, when we're law abiding, the others aren't. But yes, you are right.
Exactly.
Okay, so President May.
I didn't hear.
Question.
What was that?
I honestly was thinking that the cops couldn't do nothing to them because they had no jurisdiction.
Yeah.
That's why they were getting away with it.
That's the same thing. They're not enemies of the state yet.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Well, but I was thinking also of the censorship that they're trying to do with TikTok. Like, they're trying to take it down because they don't have the amount of control that they want over TikTok, over a specific, it seems as though it's over a specific what's the words I'm looking for? A specific topic that they can't shut down on TikTok. They can everywhere else. And that comes from the Israeli, what is it, ADL?
Yeah.
Assad?
American, what is it? Something Defense League.
Yeah, I thought it was ADL. Anti-Defamation on League. But no, it's the Israeli one. It's the hell are the acronyms for that? It's like it's the ADL's, but the Israeli version of the ADL. Oh, no, you're right. It is. No. Okay. I see. It says Anti-Defamation on League, but it's the International Jewish Non-Governmental Organization is what it is. Okay, so yeah, it's like the ADL is very much against all the Palestinian, pro-Palestinian stuff, talking about the whole Gaza stuff that they can't shut down. They can, by the algorithm, they can make it kind of shadow ban their content, but evidently it's not working too well. And so they want complete control because somebody on TikTok looked into who was really lobbying hard for the TikTok, like to either sell it or ban it completely. And the ADL is kind of the money source for that. But see, government is not allowed to censor. The thing is that the state of can't sue, just like Texas, the state of Texas can't sue the federal government when the federal government says you can't arrest, illegal aliens or whatever. It's because they work for the corporation. They know they work for the corporation. They just they're like wolves in sheep's clothing, saying, oh, we're trying, but the big bad federal government won't let us. Well, no, they know their position. The only one who could come after the federal government is the people of Texas. They would have a case. The state of does not have a case because they work for the corporation.
The Republic of Texas can.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying, the people of Texas. But there is no consolidated group out there that can kind of come together and take the federal government to task. They need better organization of the Republic. Okay, President may prohibit imports during the war. It shall be unlawful to import into the United States any article or articles from any country of which the President shall make proclamation except as ordered by him. Penalty for violation. Violation of the provisions of this law or of any license, rule, or regulation thereunto shall be punishable by fine, if not more than $10,000, or if the offender is an individual, by imprisonment for not more than 10 years or both. The officer, director, or agent of any corporation who knowingly participates in such violation shall be punished by a like fine, imprisonment, or both. Any property or any vessel concerned in such violation shall be forfeited to the United States. Jurisdiction of district courts. The district courts of the United States are given jurisdiction to issue all orders and decrees which may be necessary and proper to enforce the provisions of the law with right to appeal as prescribed by law. The several courts of first instance in the Philippine Islands and the District Court of the Canal Zone shall have jurisdiction of offenses under this law committed within their respective district, and concurrent jurisdiction with the District Courts of the United States of offenses, under this law committed on the high seas. All right. Now we're actually to the topic at hand.
Difference between what you read and what this is. I mean, was that a replication?
I think it was just broken down.
Well, it's probably, this is probably the official recording in the Congressional Record, what it looks like.
I just wonder if I should read this.
I think it's a repeat.
I think it is. Payments prior to war. Nothing this action be deemed to prevent payment of money belonging or owing to. Wait, so let's see. What is the last thing this has in the last thing that we read? I don't know. I don't remember. Did we read that one? Shipmaster certificates? Philippines and Canal Zone. Publications in foreign language, yeah. Oh my God, I think we just did read all of it. Holy moly. Okay, so that was it?
So there's no commentary? Is this all the book? Oh my gosh. Hmm. I thought there was some commentary in it, but not even that.
Yeah, I thought so too. Did we just read Trading with the Enemy Act in one day? That's pretty crazy. I mean, it was short.
It's pretty depressing. Why are we reading only depressing books?
I think we're going to read the, what is it? The Fruit from a Poisonous Tree. I kind of want to read that next because I want to read something kind of like fun yet depressing.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I'd love to read, what is it, Gibson's Trust book? The one you had suggested it once before. You said it wasn't a real big book either. I think it's Gibson's.
Oh,
Gilbert?
that's you.
Oh, Gilbert's. That's it. Yeah. Gilbert's Trust summary.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's long.
Oh, it is? Okay.
I mean, it's like it's about 286. It's not super long. It's like 286 questions.
Oh, okay. I just, we could do
I mean,
what you want,
I just
but
say questions. I meant pages. Sorry.
I just figured since we were doing the stuff in the other class, it would just really come in handy. So we know better, a little bit better.
Well, actually, law of agency would be better for what we're doing in the class.
Oh, that'd be great.
Well, the Bogart Trust book is pretty darn good, but that's another. I don't know. I'm trying to study it myself. Bogart.
Yeah, that's over 500 pages in that book.
Yeah. There's part. I think we could eliminate some of it, but I mean, some of it applies to. I mean, I was trying to figure out if there's a way to like skip chapters because they don't apply or something, but I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, so that was it. Holy moly.
Well, are you still recording or can we talk?
Yeah, hang on just for a second. Okay, well, first of all, does anybody have anything that they want to add to what we just read? I don't know if that really cleared things up for me. I was going to get a little bit more out of it.
Well, I have some comments. One is that, you know how Private Nobody talks about registering like the business or the person? I'm not sure he's saying, what is it? He's saying to register the business name. I'm not sure what he's saying. We have to register something, but this kind of, it sounds like the licensing and everything that's in this Trading with the Enemy, all of that is saying, well, you have to be registered or licensed in order to do commerce,
Yeah.
And so he's saying we need to register this thing in order to be in proper standing, It just reminded me of that. No one has registered their whatever person.
Right. Well, that's what the ANC is for. And then...
Is that the registration, though? The actual registration? Or is it more than that? That's what I wasn't sure.
It's the ANC. It's his He also puts together a declaration of verified facts. It's the power of attorney. See, Pastor goes a step further, and he actually registers the company. Creates the LLC. Which I don't know. That doesn't sound like too bad of an idea.
Yeah, but it's the private nobody's talking about it in terms of the estate. It's an estate instead of an LLC.
Right. And that's where he puts things, like after you do all this, you would put it into a trust. Yeah, I'm having dueling thoughts as to which way I actually want to go, because with private nobody's way, you would have to get the EIN. With Pastor's way, you just use the social. It's not yours, just like the EIN isn't yours per se. And with the IRS, there was a couple of things that Pastor showed with the rules for the IRS that showed that you can use the social. You don't, like, even if for him getting the company registered, you can actually use the social as a, what was the name of it? Where are you, phone? What is it? He said, hold on.
Greetings. It's a disregarded entity.
Yeah, thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
You're welcome. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
So, yeah, so I'm kind of torn between the two. But okay, aside from that, does anybody have anything else regarding the book?
I came in late, but I would like to add that essentially we have all been operating an unincorporated business and we didn't even know it.
Exactly. And we've been doing business incorrectly, doing our accounting incorrectly, applying for licenses incorrectly, doing trademarks incorrectly.
Yeah, because we've been claiming it as ours. And if you have not operated in that capacity before, even as many have been parents and we have been acting as their agents when we do anything for them. So, or even our pets, right? Whenever we handle care for our pets, we are their agent and they're the principals. So we've really been doing it more than we think. We just haven't gotten out of the box to realize we have.
Yeah, and that's what I think the whole Trading with Enemies Act and why we are seen as an enemy of the state is because we're claiming something is ours when it's not. And by giving it back to them and saying, look, my bad, but you're bad too for not informing me that it wasn't mine. You kind of made me think that it was mine when it really wasn't. So, why don't we just, do a clean slate and this is yours. I will operate it as the custodian and, I'll give you back the liability because I don't want it.
Right. I'll do a proper accounting and give you all the records.
Yep.
And you'll reimburse me, whether at the time or at the end of the year, however you decide to move and operate in that capacity.
Yeah. And that's where I think this whole act kind of comes into play.
Mhm.
And I can now kind of see why we're seen as the enemy.
There was something I read. Oh, I think I put it in Chat GPT because I couldn't understand some of the California codes. I was like, what does that mean? But go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'll find it and then I'll share it.
No, I think I was kind of done.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I totally cut you off. And
No, I pretty much think I was just reiterating something I had said previously anyways. So
When we were talking about international, becoming international, there is a movie called The International. It's a very good movie. It's about bankers. And how they, it's an older movie, but it's about how they go in and put a country into debt, and then, it has a great ending. The bankers get, I don't want to give it away. But
so this is kind of interesting about like their, what is it? Section 10, talking about powers of attorney and how private nobody suggests doing powers of attorney over the name. So powers of attorney heretofore or hereafter given by an enemy or ally of an enemy to any person in the United States, insofar as the same may be necessary in the prosecution of an application for a patent. So it's saying you need a power of attorney before you can do a patent or a trademark or copyright.
What are you patent? What are you going to patent? If we're patenting the name, it's not ours.
Anything you invent.
Yeah. I haven't invented, well, I mean, for me, I haven't invented, but I didn't invent the name. It was given to me. Hearsay.
Well, my dad had a patent way back in the 1930s. He created a little electrical device, and he patented it. Yeah, I have this old patent papers with the red ribbon on it and everything.
How long do those last? Like 10 years? No, 50 years, right? Or more.
What's that?
How long do the patents last? Like 50 years?
I don't know if they have a expiration. Do they? I don't know.
I believe so, because some companies patent their like supplements, and then after X amount of years, they lose the patent, and all of a sudden you see all kinds of knockoffs in the stores.
I know that books have a like a 20 some years or something in they're in the public domain then some amount of time. So I don't know about patents. Probably.
Well, this also says it's not just about patents and trademarks or copyright. It says, or the maintenance of a suit against a person other than a licensee to restrain infringement. So do we need it to go to court?
I heard that you could, if you didn't have a registered person or something, that you didn't have standing in court. With something about being registered, and I don't know what that's about. I heard that that was like a long time ago. I heard that.
Isn't it like we're supposed to create that separation between the self and the person, aka straw man? And there's many ways to do that. Like we can get, we could start signing our name without, according to pastor, without the family name. And we have a title behind us, like how they do in the Bible. And then, we get our assumed name, and then we have it, have the comma. According to pastor, this is how he's, sharing with us, with me and anyone who's taking his class. So, and then they do the the name on the social for me, because I was not born in America, and then you do the comma, a limited liability company. And you register that first. You make a LLC first.
Yep.
Then you do that.
Well, see, I like the idea of the estate better, because that's what they supposedly did at the birth event, is they sent something off and turned it into an estate because supposedly it died of something. So that seems more real for what actually took place then.
And you know what? And I'm sorry. And who's to say that we don't already have a DBA that we don't even know about for the all caps name? That's probably how they got it into all caps.
No, it's a dead thing. It's the all caps is a ship or a dead thing or a corporation.
It's a corporation. Corporations
Yeah,
are
it's a
just on paper.
corporation that they never registered though. So like, because when we go and register it, and there's no, I mean, usually when you type in your name, it'll say if someone has already registered that name, and they haven't. So
But that's in the public. But that's in the public realm. Like, what if it's in the private realm that we're not aware of? Like on their books.
Yeah, it's registered as an estate on their book.
Well, do you have anything that says that? Or is
Not
that
yet.
just hearsay? Yeah, I mean, because I've heard many things.
It's called state secrets privilege.
Right. It's a trade secret. They'd have to kill us if we found out. Well, I mean, it's
interesting that after the powers of attorney, it said suits against licensee. They're the licensee. They're the ones who created it. So aren't they the licensee? So can't we now sue them?
So did they put is there a glossary in that reading that you guys did?
Well, it's not necessarily a glossary. There's hold on. So there's two things in the channel, in the folder. There's two ways to view it. So the book just kind of breaks it down so you can read it in a book format. But like then towards the end, it gives it to you in the congressional record format. Then there's also the actual congressional record PDF that's in the folder that you can view as well. But where is it? Suits against licensee. So this one, patent or copyright may, within 1 year after the end of the war, file a bill in equity against the licensee. So wonder if you can, equity against the licensee in the United States District Court. Is this saying that we can come after the treasurer?
Well, if it's a corporation, we all believe that it's a corporation. We've seen videos that Pastor has shared. I don't know what is shared in the other groups, but he shared that one video of the Congress talking about it being a corporate government.
Well, the United States is a corporation, yes.
Yeah, so if it's a corporation, then, and we are hypothetically a person, and we're considered a corporation too, so then we can file suit. I don't think we need to have the powers of attorney, because if we knew who we are in this realm, if we knew that we were a corporation, we can sue another corporation. But that's just the
No, there's multiple ways of going to it. And like It's not
Mm-hmm.
wrong to do it the estate way, and it's not wrong to do it the corporate way or the
No,
corporation way. It's
because
just
isn't
which
it
one.
isn't an estate a trust, and a trust is a corporation, so they all lead to the same place. They're all corporate. It's all corporations, trusts, estates, LLCs, partnerships, person.
Well, they're all fiction. I don't know corporate. Well, they're corporate.
Ooh,
They're
business law. Business law might be an interesting book. I've never read it, but to see how, if we're going to be dealing, I'm sure many of us don't necessarily think of our lives as a corporation. But if we're dealing with these fictions, then why wouldn't we want to know how our enemy fights?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to pick your
The battle.
direction and kind of head in that. You can't kind of jump around. So you either go the corporate way or you go the estate way. I don't think you can really mingle the two because they're two separate trajectories. Pastor originally was all about going to probate.
Mm.
So he's kind of put that aside and now he's going the corporate way. So not to say that the probate way isn't it, but he's just decided to go into a different direction.
And I guess because I've done business for so long, it makes sense in my mind.
Right. And it it's each person needs to make that decision.
Correct. And I think that they all probably run parallel to each other.
Yeah, I mean, definitely parallel, but they're definitely two different roads. So, and I think
and the wording is different.
Yeah, they end up diverting a little, like each goes opposite directions at a certain point. It kind of like straight and narrow for a long time until the very end. I think the corporate way is you keep going on the straight and narrow, like the road doesn't kind of end until you do. Where the probate, there is an end game to get to probate and become like the executor of the estate, so you have a little bit more control. As opposed to, I think the corporate way is like you just run the business until the business, dies.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you became the executrix, would you be able to title that over to your descendants? Only if they knew how to operate like you, correct?
Correct.
And that would be the same with a corporation. You would deed it over to them if they knew how to operate it.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, this would definitely be a good, I don't know, maybe I'll think about getting Private Nobody and Pastor on a call and just ask them questions
That
about
would be cool.
Are you still recording?
No. I mean, yes.
Okay, because maybe we should stop the recording if we can. I don't know. I had a question about Pastor didn't list Private Nobody as one of the teachers.